ויאמרו לו עבדיו, יבקשו לאדוני המלך, נערה בתולה ועמדה לפני המלך. ותחילו סוכנת וסחבה בחיקי חברם לאדוני המלך. So his servant said to him, Let there be brought for my lord the king a virgin girl who will stand before the king and be his attendant. She will lie in your bosom, and my lord the king will be warmed. And then Pasuk Gimel says, ויבקשו נערה יפה בכל גבול ישראל, וימצאו את אבישג השונמית, ויבואו אותה למלך. They searched for a beautiful girl throughout the boundary of Israel, and they found Abishag the Shunammite, and brought her to the king. So yes, this Haftarah describes King David as a polygamist, and the truth is that the Torah does not condemn the act of polygamy. Actually, according to Torah law, there is no limit to how many wives a man could actually have. However, rabbinically, Jews were limited to only 4, which is something else Muslims copied from Jewish law. Now, this appears both in Shulchan Aruch as well as in Mishneh Torah, not to mention the Gemara, lest someone assume that it's just a small segment of the Jewish world that endorses it. Actually, the Shulchan Aruch states that in a place where polygamy is not practiced, that Jews are not permitted to practice it. Now, many polygamists ignore that statement, mainly because that was just the Moran's personal opinion and not the halakha that's being brought down. And kings, on the other hand, according to rabbinic law, were limited to only 18, which is how we see the Rambam hold. However, there is a machloket, there's a debate on that number. And it seems that the number was actually made up due to how many wives King David was said to have. Now, you're probably thinking, why is polygamy not practiced widely in the Jewish world? Being that it is allowed and even sometimes commanded in Torah, like we see with Yibum, the Levirate marriage. Now, we do see that an alternative procedure of chalitza is offered as an option, but it is clear that according to the text, it's only secondary and is described as a disgraceful option to resort to, which can clearly be seen in the actual procedure of chalitza itself, with the spitting and the use of a shoe. No, it is true that polygamy is not widely practiced in the Jewish world nowadays, but that is only because it was outlawed over 1,000 years ago by Rabbeinu Gershom. However, this was only a prohibition for Ashkenazi Jews. In other words, Sephardi Jews were not subject to this prohibition and were actually not even aware of it. Not just Sephardi Jews, but Temanim and other Jews that were outside of Europe. And yes, it is prohibited in the state of Israel today to have more than one wife. Now the question is, how can Rabbeinu Gershom or the state of Israel prohibit something that during some occurrences the Torah commands you to do? And the short answer, friends, is that they can't. Mainly because Rabbeinu Gershom was not a Tana or an Amara. In other words, he did not sit on the Sanhedrin or have authentic smicha. Not that the Sanhedrin would ever permanently abolish a Torah command to begin with, which they actually couldn't, even if they wanted to. In other words, they didn't have the power to. Actually, Rabbeinu Gershom's gezerah was supposedly only for 1,000 years, a time frame that has already expired. So yes, Ashkenazim, at least those who literally follow Chazal, can marry up to 4 wives if they wanted to. Now, I personally, apart from what the Torah may say on the issue, am not a polygamist, and I am not saying that people should practice polygamy. I'm just stating the facts here. And I'm also not foolish enough to think that the abolishment of polygamy has not contributed to the destruction of countless marriages by solidifying marital standards that never really existed in the biblical world to begin with. Now, this is one of those issues that many shouldn't be ready to die on the mountain because of. In other words, we have more important issues to fight today. And another more complex issue is that of a pelegesh, i.e., the concubine, literally a plag ish, a second woman or a second wife, which at least according to the Rambam was only limited to kings, but to others, like to the great Rav Ovadia Yosef, could be acquired by anyone, and he was actually trying to bring the practice back. But as you know, this is a very, very touchy subject, and I don't even like to discuss it, mainly because it gives many a way to behave improperly with the opposite sex, like many have begun to do so nowadays, taking girls as concubines just to enjoy premarital sex, when they even forget to notice that a pelegesh, although she doesn't require a ketubah, still requires a get. But anyways, moving on. Then, friends, the narrative depicts